The world is divided into two realities, the abode of humans and the hidden dimension of monsters, between which a fragile balance was maintained for centuries. However, the ancient equilibrium has been disrupted. A mysterious rift has allowed dark entities to penetrate the mortal world, sowing chaos and stealing souls. At the center of these events is Pu Songling, a legendary demon hunter who hides behind the mask of an eccentric writer. Pu Songling does not just fight monsters. He collects them into his magical book, turning dangerous entities into characters in his stories. His personality type is that of a wise trickster who understands that the destructive nature of demons is often merely a reflection of human vices. In a quiet border town, young girls begin to disappear without a trace. Local authorities are in a panic, and Yan Fei, a young, ambitious, but extremely down-to-earth constable, takes on the investigation. Yan Fei does not believe in magic and thinks that ordinary criminals are behind the kidnappings, until fate brings him face to face with Pu Songling. Their acquaintance begins with a comical conflict, but quickly evolves into a forced alliance. The constable needs results, and the hunter needs access to the crime scenes. It is through Yan Fei that we see the clash of the rational world with the inexplicable horror of the shadow reality. In the course of the investigation, the heroes track down Ning Kaichen, a mysterious young man who seems obsessed with finding one specific entity. Ning Kaichen is a tragic hero whose soul is slowly being destroyed due to a forbidden connection with the otherworldly world. He is searching for Xiao Qian, a beautiful but deadly demoness in crimson robes. Xiao Qian is unlike other monsters. There is a deep sadness in her actions, and her connection with Ning is a classic example of a destructive attachment that pulls both into the abyss. She kidnaps the souls of young girls not of her own free will, but by obeying the order of a more powerful force. This power turns out to be the Mirror Witch, a majestic and terrifying incarnation of pure egocentrism. The Mirror Witch rules the dimension of reflections and seeks to attain eternal youth by draining life energy from pure souls. Her lair is a labyrinth of mirrors where reality is distorted and fears take flesh. She manipulates Xiao Qian, promising her freedom and the chance to be with her beloved in exchange for new victims. Here we see the main destructive motif of the first part, how love is turned into an instrument of blackmail and destruction. When Pu Songling realizes the true scale of the threat, the rift expands, and the city outskirts begin to literally fall into the shadow dimension. During another kidnapping attempt, Yan Fei for the first time sees the true form of Xiao Qian, and his worldview collapses. The hunter realizes that the book is almost full, but to seal the rift, he needs to catch the one who is the heart of this anomaly. The heroes find themselves on the threshold of the mirror dimension, understanding that entry there could be a one-way ticket. Entering the mirror dimension changes the rules of the game. Pu Songling realizes that the Mirror Witch has created a perfect trap where every step of the hunters is reflected and amplified. In this space, destruction manifests through the distortion of truth. The mirrors show not what is, but what the heroes fear losing. Yan Fei, being a man of the system, almost loses his mind seeing the space around him shatter into thousands of fragments, each containing a different version of reality. Meanwhile, Ning Kaichen finds Xiao Qian in the depths of a ghostly garden. Here their true connection is revealed. It turns out that Ning was once a hunter himself, but his love for the demoness forced him to betray his order. To save her from destruction, he gave part of his human soul, making him dependent on dark magic. This is a classic arc of self-destruction for the sake of another. Ning is literally melting, becoming more transparent, while Xiao Qian is forced to collect others' souls to maintain his spectral existence. Their love has turned into a closed circle of pain, where every act of rescue only accelerates their common end. The Mirror Witch decides to speed up the process of absorbing the city. She realizes that Pu Songling's magical book is the only artifact capable of sealing her world forever. The witch uses psychological manipulation, taking the forms of those the hunter once failed to help. She accuses him of not saving demons, but merely locking them in a prison of words, denying them the right to exist. This hits Pu's most vulnerable point, his doubts about the correctness of his path. The climax of this part is a massive battle in the Hall of 1,000 Reflections. Pu Songling uses his magical brush to paint protective spells directly in the air, but the witch simply copies his magic through the mirrors, turning it against him. At this moment, Yan Fei shows unexpected resilience. His ordinariness and lack of magical gift make him invisible to some mirror traps. He breaks through to the altar where the captured souls of the girls are kept. but his path is blocked by Xiao Qian, who is under the witch's full control. To stop the witch, the heart of the mirror must be destroyed, but it is inextricably linked to Xiao Qian's life force. Ning Qian faces an impossible choice: let the world perish or personally end the life of the one for whom he sacrificed his humanity. Pu Songling raises his brush for the final character, realizing that the price of victory this time may be too high even for an experienced hunter. In the final phase of penetrating the enemy's lair, Pu Songling reveals his main tactic. He intends not just to fight, but to lure the mirror witch into her own trap. The hunter understands that her power feeds on reflected vanity, and the only way to win is to deprive her of mirrors. While Yan Fei distracts the witch's minions, using his wits and knowledge of city laws against otherworldly logic, Pu begins the great ritual of sealing. At this time, in the very heart of the mirror labyrinth, a decisive meeting takes place. Ning Qian and Xiao Qian find themselves before the altar of souls. The witch tries to force Ning to complete a ritual that will forever bind him to the world of shadows, making him her loyal general. However, it is here that the character's hidden strength manifests. Ning realizes that his love is not a weakness to be manipulated, but the only weapon capable of resisting distortion. He enters into a mental struggle with the witch, trying to awaken the remnants of human memory in Xiao Qian. The hall fills with the energy of Pu Songling, who begins to rewrite the architecture of the dimension on the fly. Reality begins to tremble and melt. The witch, feeling control slipping away, transforms into her most destructive form, a massive entity of broken glass, reflecting all the sins of those who look upon her. Every shard of this entity broadcasts the hero's moments of weakness, trying to paralyze their will. The final chord of the plot arrives when Pu Songling raises his brush for the decisive strike, but faces unexpected resistance from the very nature of the magical book. It turns out that the balance of yin and yang requires a sacrifice. To close the rift, someone must voluntarily remain on the other side. We see the heroes freeze on the edge of two worlds, realizing that victory will have the bitter taste of loss. The third part ends at the moment when the mirror world begins to collapse inward, pulling everything living into a vortex of oblivion. The climax unfolds in the mirror hall, a space where physical laws cease to function, and each hero confronts their true intentions. This is the point of maximum destruction, where three powerful forces clash, determining the outcome of the entire story. The mirror witch enters a state of energy trance, attempting to finally consume the souls of the kidnapped girls and Pu Songling's magical energy. Her magic turns the hall into an infinite labyrinth of reflections, where the heroes lose track of where the real enemy is and where their own fear lies. Visually, this appears as the disintegration of reality into thousands of sparkling shards, each whispering to the heroes about their past failures. This is the apotheosis of her destructive egocentrism, turning the entire world into a mirror of herself. The most dramatic moment arrives when Ning Qian finds the sphere containing Xiao Qian's soul. The witch presents him with a cruel psychological choice. To restore his beloved's human essence and save her from eternal slavery, he must voluntarily give his life and take her place in the shadow dimension forever. Here we see the culmination of the theme of codependency. Is the hero ready for complete self-destruction for a ghostly chance to save another? At this moment, Ning ceases to be a victim of circumstances and becomes an active participant in his own tragedy. While the young heroes struggle with their feelings, Pu Songling enters the final battle, using his magical brush as a tool to restore world order. He literally redraws the battle space, imposing seal characters onto the mirror surfaces. Pu realizes that brute force is useless here. He must destroy the very logic of the mirror world. His struggle is an attempt to keep reality from final collapse, while Yan Fei tries to find a physical exit from the labyrinth for all the captured souls. The hall fills with blinding light and the chaos of bursting glass. The tension reaches its limit as the mirrors begin to explode from an excess of dark energy, and the boundary between the worlds of yin and yang thins to the limit, threatening to consume not only the heroes but the entire city of humans. This is a moment of absolute instability, where one wrong move will lead to the final triumph of shadow. The resolution of this mystical story is not just a victory of good over evil, but a deep exploration of self-sacrifice and acceptance of the inevitable. At the moment when the mirror dimension begins to collapse, crumbling under the weight of its own darkness, Ning Qian makes a final decision. He realizes that the only way to break the cycle of abductions and save Xiao Qian is a voluntary exchange. In a blinding flash of magic, Ning transfers the remains of his human spark to the demoness, allowing her to regain her soul and physical shell. However, the price of this act is absolute. Ning Kachin himself departs into the shadow forever, becoming part of the very spectral world he fought against. He transforms into an eternal guardian of the portal, locked in the void so that his beloved can live in the human world. This is the finale of true destruction of the personality, when a person completely dissolves into another, disappearing as an individual. Xiao Qian returns to the reality of mortals, but this return is filled with bitterness. She is free from the power of the Mirror Witch, but now she is a living reminder of a great loss. Her journey continues, but the shadow of the sacrifice made has forever fallen upon her heart. Pu Songling, seeing the conclusion of this drama, applies the final seal with his magical brush. The rift between Yin and Yang closes, consuming the remains of the mirror labyrinth and its mistress. The hunter's magical book snaps shut. Another story of monsters and humans is finished and turned into ink lines. For Pu Songling, this is a victory, but its taste smacks of ash. He has lost a friend and comrade who chose love over his own existence. Constable Yan Fei remains in the quiet town, which will never be the same for him. Having faced true magic and horror, he realizes that the laws of men are powerless before the laws of the soul. The world is restored, the shadows have receded, but each hero of this plot remains forever fractured, carrying within them a shard of that mirror truth they saw in the abyss. The film The Night of Shadows, between Yin and Yang, beneath the wrapper of a comedy fantasy, hides one of the darkest themes in psychology: pathological codependency and the loss of identity. The main character is a classic example of a person who has allowed a destructive attachment into his life. His desire to save Xiao Qian at any cost leads to him literally erasing himself as a person. He gives away his human spark, his soul, and ultimately his existence. For our analysis, this is an important marker. When love requires you to stop being yourself, it turns into an instrument of destruction. The antagonist of the film embodies the absolute ego. Her lair of mirrors is a metaphor for a world where there is no room for others, only endless reflections of one's own desires. She sucks the life out of young souls to maintain the facade of eternal beauty. This is a direct message that the pursuit of external perfection without internal substance leads to turning into a monster. The hunter, played by Jackie Chan, is the only character who maintains balance. His magical book symbolizes the ability to structure chaos. He doesn't just destroy demons, he tries to understand their nature, realizing that darkness and light, yin and yang, are inseparable. His work is an attempt to keep the world from finally falling into the abyss of illusions created by the witch. The use of bright, almost acidic colors for the mirror dimension emphasizes its unnaturalness. We see that real life is warm and grounded, while the demon world is cold, sparkling, and fake. This stylization allows us to discuss serious themes of losing oneself and manipulation without violating platform rules, as all the horrors here are dressed in the form of magical metaphors. The Night of Shadows is a cautionary tale that any gift, whether it is magic or a great love, requires responsibility. If you do not control your shadows, they begin to control you. The Story Arc Cinema channel recommends this film to those who want to see how our own fears and addictions hide behind the masks of fantasy creatures. Our journey with Pu Songling has come to an end. We have seen that in a world where mirrors can lie, the only truth remains our own choice. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Story Arc Cinema channel. Here we continue to look for hidden meanings in the most unexpected films. Hit the bell and see you in the next episode where we will analyze a new story arc.